Hey, it's Jaden.
And Melissa.
And Christy.
We're
the co-founders of Launchers Academy.
And we help dropshippers become successful by providing the most relevant e-commerce strategies.
You're tuning into the Launchers Academy podcast experience,
where you will learn all the ins and outs of how to build your very own successful dropshipping store.
So kick back, take lots of notes, and let's make money this year. All right, guys, so today we're going to be talking about why you should get into dropshipping. But before we kind of do that, I'll kind of give a little bit of background and context here about the three of us. So my name is Jaden, and I actually got into dropshipping by pretty much with unknown external forces. So I actually start the traditional route where I got into e-commerce by just pretty much ordering bulk, build a brand off of that. And there's a lot of money up front, and I didn't realize there was a more lean method, which dropshipping was. But if I had known that, I probably wouldn't have shelled out a couple of tens and thousands of dollars before I got started. So after I came across this model, I was like, wow, this is a huge lifesaver. So for me, I started where most people would actually start off, where they would, find a product and then build a brand around it, order the inventory, and then pretty much just keep that inventory and pretty much have the risk where, well, if you don't sell it all the money's going to disappear because it's just going to sit there. So yeah, that was my journey with dropshipping. Had I already known, it would have probably been a lot easier. But that's kind of my experiences with dropshipping. I'm so glad I found it. Now I want my co-founder here as well, Melissa, to share how, what her background is and what, how she got into dropshipping.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Melissa, and growing up, I studied business in university as well as got my certified professional accounting designation. So I'm a CPA by trade, and I've always wanted to start businesses. So with Christy, actually, who's our other co-founder, we started our strategic design agency as our first business that we ever started. It was a service-based company, but we wanted something that was a lot more passive. So rather having to be so active in the business, we wanted an income stream that was more passive. And e-commerce allows for easy global expansion as well as scalability. So we thought that going to e-commerce would be a really good way to have an additional passive income stream while working my corporate job. And so as I was searching more into e-commerce, a lot of different models came up. Dropshipping was one of the models, and the reason why we ended up going with dropshipping was because it does not require that much capital to start with. It only requires very low upfront capital, as well as being able to spend less energy given the fulfillment process is done by the supplier. And the only really focus that you really need to do is focus on marketing to sell the product. So with that, that's why we got into dropshipping, because of low upfront capital, as well as not having as much energy needed in order to start the business right from the get-go.
Awesome. I love that. And Christy, tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Christy. I have a background in design and marketing. I worked in corporate and at tech startups. And as Melissa mentioned, we ran a strategic design agency, and we worked with multiple e-commerce clients, helping them with their brand. So I've always wanted to build my own brand, and dropshipping is a great way to get into e-commerce. I also love the low upfront cost and low barrier to entry. And then when you start with a general store, you can test out winning products, and then you can build it into a one product store and grow your brand even further. So dropshipping was the way to go to help me build my own e-commerce brand.
Love that. So that's pretty much us as three co-founders. So we're going to dive into why you should get into dropshipping. So I'm going to kind of popcorn this around there, Melissa. What are two, actually, before we kind of dive into that, why don't you let the audience here know what dropshipping is?
Love that. So dropshipping is pretty much where you have absolutely no inventory and you're selling a product via a web store, whether that be Shopify, BigCommerce, or any other platforms. And once the customer actually places an order for the product, that's where you send the order to the supplier, who then ships out the product directly from their warehouse to the customer's door. During this entire process, you do not hold any inventory, so you don't have to pay for any upfront inventory right from the get-go.
So in a nutshell, it's pretty much they would be the sales agent of a supplier, and they just sell someone else's product.
Exactly.
Well, here's the thing, guys. I mean, you should get into drop shipping because unless you have like tens and thousands of dollars to order your product up front, and pretty much be at the risk of holding this inventory, and if you don't sell, you lose the money. Because here's the thing, right? It's one thing to actually have the product and find the product, but it's another to really understand how to market. So, Christy, what are like two pros of why someone should get into drop shipping as opposed to just a traditional route of ordering like the products up front or start a brand right off the bat?
Yeah, one of the great things about dropshipping is you can, test out all different markets because you want to find your winning product within all the different markets. So you don't have to dedicate yourself to one product and then only to find that there's not consistent sales. So if you're someone that wants to test out, different products, that's always a great way to get started in dropshipping. And then also, when you find your winning product, then you can start building a bigger brand around it so that you can dedicate all your time and money into a product that's actually a winner and grow your brand even further and grow a community around that.
Awesome. And is it still a great time for people to get into drop shipping?
Yeah, especially with the pandemic going on, everyone's buying online right now. And also e-commerce is $1 trillion industry right now. And dropshipping is just the perfect way to get started.
Cool. And the beauty about drop shipping is like it's really not a lot of work. It still requires a lot of work with any business and anything you do. But drop shipping is a great model to get into is because like we were just mentioning earlier, it's low capital upfront. And also more importantly is there's a lot less risk than you actually need to is if you're to get into the formal traditional e-commerce side of things is because the purpose of drop shipping is for you to just find a product. It makes some good money, you get some good market data, and then you would basically just turn that into the actual brand, but you can't turn a brand out of like nothing right off the bat. I mean, just like throwing money in the wall. So, as we're kind of like educating you guys how to get into drop shipping here, and whether or not you are just on the precipice of like doing it because you've heard other people doing very well, whether it's because you want to have a career change, whether it's just because you are trying to find a side hustle and you came across drop shipping and you want to see if this is either A, lucrative, or B, it's something that is not overly saturated. Well, I mean, that's why we're hosting these podcasts here for you. But let's talk about the cons here because there are some cons with drop shipping, and we don't want to kind of just pretty much talk all about the pros, which there's a lot of pros, but just to set people up for proper expectations here as they're deciding to get into drop shipping. Melissa, what are like one or two cons with drop shipping so that way at least people can expect when they're deciding to get into it?
Yeah, I love that question. And I don't think this is talked about enough. A lot of people just talk about the pros of dropshipping and, you don't actually hear the real truth behind what actually is needed in order to make sure that a dropshipping store is successful. So one of the biggest cons I would say is that there is a lot of stigma around the word dropshipping. So when people think about dropshipping, they think about, it's just, a lot of young kids flashing their cars, their Lambos, their Ferraris, or a lot of material possessions, really, and that it's a get quick, easy scheme. But it really isn't. Just like any other business out there, it does require time to actually start up, as well as you need to put in consistency and grit for this to actually work. So a lot of people go into drop shipping with the connotation that this is something that you can start up right away and you're supposed to make money instantly right when you start up. But it's definitely not the case, right? As is with any other business, it takes time, it takes work. A lot of people don't realize how much work it actually is to create a store, do all the marketing around it and selling it and all the products and stuff like that. But it's dropshipping is just another, business model within e-commerce, and starting an e-commerce store in itself is something that does take time and effort to actually do. So putting in that consistency, I would say, is the other part of it. So a lot of people, just kind of come into this notion that it's something that's easy to start, and the moment that it starts getting hard, they give up. And that's why, a lot of people also stay with dropshipping. They have a failed store that they're losing money. They're not seeing the results, but it's only because they didn't actually put in enough time and effort into it in order for them to actually reap the benefits and the results by putting in that grit and that hard work.
I love that. And you set up benefits, right? So you're not to scare, you listening right now to whether or not you should get into drop shipping. But Melissa, you said that there's benefits. So, you know, be, yes, we understand the cons now, and it does require a lot of work. And any business should require a lot of work because if any business is not that hard, then honestly, I mean, you're not going to reap a lot of benefits. I mean, if you want less hard work, why don't you just stay at home and just watch TV all day? Well, you can't really make money if you sit home all day and watch TV, right? But if you want to make good money, you got to put in the hard work. So, if someone was able to make this work and go through all the trials and errors and challenges, like what's some of the benefits that they can reap? Like what can they get out of it? Just to kind of give the audience some insight as to what a successful drop shipping company will allow you to do.
Yeah, so if you are successful in this and you find your winning product, which it takes a little bit of time to actually, have you testing out the different products to actually find the winning product. But once you're able to find the winning product, you're going to be able to start seeing consistent monthly income coming in, whether that be $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, $100,000. This is all of these numbers are very achievable. It just really depends on how much time and effort you're willing to put into the marketing aspect of it. But once you're able to generate a customer list and you start creating, diving a little bit into Facebook strategies now, you're doing lookalike audiences and really hitting the different audience pools that you already know works based on your trial and error and your testing period, then you'll be able to see that consistent income coming in. And then that's where you're also able to start, outsourcing a lot of the different tasks, hiring a virtual assistant to do all of the ordering, fulfillment, so that you are able to take yourself out of that business. And that's when it becomes more of a passive income stream. Rather, at the beginning, it's going to be more active because you are very involved in it. But once you hit that milestone of being able to have consistency, you can remove yourself from the business and it truly becomes something more passive, not 100% passive. I don't believe that there's anything like 100% passive income stream, but you can take a lot of the work out of it.
Awesome. And on average, if you do really well, what would you say someone could particularly make a month?
I would say anywhere from $10,000 to, I know people that make $1 million a month as well in sales. So it really depends. Upwards of 10,000 is not something that's difficult.
That's awesome. I mean, imagine yourself saying right now you have your own drop shipping business where you're making $10,000 a month. I mean, most people don't even get nearly half of that. So that's quite lucrative. So, jumping back into the cons here, we've been doing this for a while there, Christy, and based on our experiences, what have you seen are some of the cons that, we wish that we knew, or some kind of insight we can give to the audience here listening?
Yeah, that's a great question there. So I would say that, 90% of dropshipping products are losers. So you really want to follow a step-by-step process to vet these products to make sure that your product fits in with a certain criteria that is a lot of what winning products would have. So you also don't want to get too attached to a product. When we started, we also had some products that we really liked, but you really want to make sure that you're not too attached to it, because if you need to let it go, you should, because you don't want to keep wasting your money on a losing product. So that's why you really definitely want to make sure that you follow a step-by-step process to really vet these products and make sure that they're winners as you are trying to test them out.
Cool. I love that. So, here's the thing. And guys, you want to tune in because we are going to be going over how to find your winning product, because like Chrissy said, really at the end of the day, drop shipping, the name of the game is two things. One, finding your winning product, and two, getting there fast enough. It's about speed testing, right? So tune in for an episode where we actually kind of break down for you of how you can really jumpstart to find your winning product. But I want to kind of gear the conversation towards more now. It's just like, how does someone even get started with dropshipping in the first place? Let's kind of break down a 5-step, simple, pretty much a simple 5-step process for, someone who's completely new. And this is our advices that we can get them started. I'll start off with like the first 2 advice, to be honest. The first advice I'll give for anyone that wants to get into dropshipping, and listen to me closely. If you are going to depend on the YouTube and the Google, you're not going to go very far. Like, here's the thing. Yes, it's free advices, and sure, you want to kind of like not be at risk to invest capital to get all these programs that don't work, or, buy into these gurus and these experts and then pretty much be disappointed when you do invest into these programs. And yes, we completely understand, and the three of us can pretty much relate to you. You don't want to waste your time and money. But from experiences, let us tell you that the YouTube and the Google, they don't work. Why is that? Okay, you know what? We're not supposed to say this, but I kind of want to debunk this for you listening here. Most of the people on the YouTube that has the headlines like I made $50,000 in two weeks or something like that. Yes, they did, but there's a 90% chance they're not even doing it profitably. Because here's the thing. They want to kind of get you to buy their program because that's where they're going to make the real money, right? So yes, they hit those numbers because pretty much when you hit those numbers, it's all about just spending money on ads. So if someone is telling you that they hit $50,000 in 2 weeks, that's awesome. They probably did hit those numbers, but they're probably not making any money. And they want to sell you a program, yes, to teach you how they got there, but more importantly, that's how they make money from you. And that's when they become profitable. They sell you this program. And honestly, most of the time, the programs you guys buy, it's outdated information. We don't even know when they hit $50,000 in 2 weeks. But basically, long story short, is the YouTube and the Google don't work. It's free advices for a reason, and they're pretty much outdated advices. Like there's a difference between people who know what they're doing and currently are doing it, and then there's people who've done it and now they're just pretty much relying what they did do, and they don't want to improve, so they try to sell you a program of outdated materials. So stay away from the YouTube and Google. Where should you go instead, if you're wondering that? Well, I mean, either A, you follow us, for example. If you're not already following our podcast, please give it a follow. But more importantly is look at people who are doing very well and learn from them. Most of the people who are doing very well, they don't really post these kind of YouTube videos or anything like that. And they have a lot of free training resources. So search up a few that, after your due diligence, it looks like that they're doing very well. But most of these people who are doing very well, they don't put up YouTube videos. Like, for example, we don't have any YouTube videos because most of our time is focused on other areas. But yeah, just do your due diligence. Stay away from the YouTube and Google. Step 2 is understand the risk that comes with dropshipping. What do I mean by that? Well, the risk with dropshipping is it's going to be like another full-time job. Yes, you can turn into a side hustle, but if you're gonna treat it like a side hustle, then that's all it's ever going to be. If you want to make an extra $1,000 and $2,000, great. Do you want to have that done in the next 2 years or 3 years, or do you want to have that done in the next 3 months or so? And the difference between having it done sooner rather than later is really the amount of time you're willing to put into it. Because here's the thing: if you have a job and you want to get into drop shipping, either A, because it's an additional source of income, or 2, is if you want to kind of leave that job because you don't like it anymore, and turn drop shipping, or have the opportunity to get into drop shipping because it can replace your full-time job. And here's the thing, I just want to point this out. Job, you probably don't know this, but it stands for just over broke. All right, like they pretty much just pay you a salary just enough so you can pay the bills and come back to them. But if you put in more hours, it doesn't matter. Let's just say you work 8-hour shift, and I'm getting a little bit off topic here. Let's just say you work an 8-hour shift, right? The amount of work you put in the 8-hour shift, you're not going to make any more money if you worked harder. You will make the same amount. But if you work less, you will make the same amount. However, you won't get promoted. So the harder you work, the chances of you getting promoted in that company will be greater, but you don't make any more money. You only make more money if you get promoted. So here's the thing with building your business. This is something I want you guys to understand. All right? If you're in the mindset of having a career change, or you're really tired of your job, the amount of time you're willing to put into your job will be the exact same amount of time that you can put into drop shipping or your own business and get a lot further ahead, because at least you can control your costs because you're your own boss, meaning that you have uncapped earning potential. So step 2 is really understand the risk, meaning that if you really want to make this work, it's not going to be smooth. And also, more importantly, is you got to identify whether you're going to turn to a full-time job or make this a full-time thing so you can leave your current gig, or you're going to turn it into a side hustle. But for those that are willing to turn this into a full-time gig and put in a lot of hours, it'll be a lot more beneficial. There will be risks, because with anything in life, there are risks. Nothing is ever guaranteed to be smooth, but there will be risks. but at least the rewards will be a lot higher if you put a lot more of your time and energy into. So just identify exactly where you want to be. Whether you want to make $10,000 a month with this, because that requires a lot of work. If you want to make $2,000 or $3,000 a month as a side income, awesome. Do you want to take the next 2 years? So understand the risks and identify where exactly you want to do with it. So those are my first 2 steps. What would you say is like 3 or 4 there, Melissa?
Yeah, so before diving into step 3 or 4, I think I want to really reiterate the point, right, that you just mentioned about having that mindset where you're willing to put in the work. I think one of the biggest things, and before we even dive into more of the actual tangible steps, is really having that success mindset where you are willing to put in whatever is necessary in order to make sure that you are successful in this journey. Every single person is going to go on a different journey, and they'll be able to see success at different times based on the product that they are testing. Some people are lucky, after their first launch, they realize this is a product that is a winning product. And so they start scaling and they see a lot of results a lot faster. Other people, it might take their 16th or 17th product launch before they actually see that consistency and that success. But the difference between these 2 people is if both of these are willing to try hard and work at this, then they're both going to see success. And whatever that means in their own, definition, right? You're still going to be able to see that money in the results. But just the fact that you need to put in that consistency and the work in it every single day, you have to almost be obsessed with e-commerce. Myself, Christy, and Jaden, we're so passionate about e-commerce. We can talk about this day in and day out for many hours a day. And we won't even be tired of it just because we're actually interested in this topic. So it's having that consistency, that mindset, and truly understanding why you're doing this in the first place. So having a bigger sense of purpose and its bigger why, because that's going to that is going to keep you going when things are going to get tough, which it inevitably will be getting tough. So having that is so important, and money is going to get you started, but it's not going to keep you going. So from there, thinking about step 3 and step 4, I would say is really validating that there is an actual demand for your product. So one way of doing this is to go on Google Trends, where you're able to search up the niche or keywords related to your product and see if people are actually searching for this product in the past 90 days. And you want to make sure that before you spend a single dollar on advertising, that people are actually searching up for this product. People are actually buying this product, so that you're not wasting your advertising money and just throwing money at the wall and hoping that it sticks. That's one way of doing it. And another way of validating your product is just to look in the market and see what is actually happening around the world. So, for example, because we are in the midst of COVID, there are a lot of things that people are wanting to buy or wanting to spend their money on because it's COVID. So for example, home goods is a market that's doing very well as a result of the pandemic, and fitness, because a lot of people were stuck at home and they weren't able to go to the gyms. So just thinking about the environment that you're currently surrounding yourself in and what season it is, for example, to see what products will be doing well in the coming weeks or coming months. The second part of it, I would say, is making sure that you are spending time researching and doing competitive analysis to make sure you understand your competitive environment and what other people are selling in terms of a similar product or niche, so that you're able to work with your pricing strategies as well as your different marketing angles that you can use that will differentiate your product from other people. And I'll pass it off to Christy to talk about the next 2 steps.
Yeah, I loved what Jaden and Melissa mentioned just now, and putting in the hard work into dropshipping, because again, it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. So definitely putting in a lot of the hard work and making sure that you're testing your products effectively and following proven strategies. I would say the 5th point is to really inspire yourself with some of the biggest successful brands out there right now that started with dropshipping. For example, BlendJet, they're really, really big brand right now, and they've been selling and making millions of sales. And they started back in when they started in drop shipping and just testing out their products and finding a winner. And now they're building a really, really big brand around it. So you also want to look at what's working for the competitors, as what Melissa mentioned, and also take in some of the content that they are using on their website and then highlighting product benefits when you do put together your online store, making sure that your branding throughout your store is credible and trustworthy, and then making sure that for your product pages that it really highlights the key benefits of the product, not just about features, making sure all your images are really high quality and that the overall website flows very well. So when you're doing this step of dropshipping, you definitely want to make sure that your store is ready to convert and make those sales.
Awesome, love it. I mean, that was step 4. So what's the last step? Step 5. What should we say for step 5? Okay, all right. So I'll take it because it looks like they're a little shy here. So step 5, honestly, I would say step 5 is understanding yourself as an individual. Now, it's not so much practical. And when I talk drop shipping, most of your success will come from within yourself, like who you are as a person, because drop shipping is not going to be easy. So if anyone's ever made you to believe that drop shipping is easy, it's as simple as literally finding a product, slap on a website, run some ads, wake up a millionaire, it's not going to happen. You'll never get there, right? Because even with these, people on the YouTube and the Google, going back to the first step, like, they will only give you the positives, how much they made, how awesome life is and stuff like that. But they won't tell you all the struggles they have, how much money they burn to get to the stage they are. And of course, it's not, glamorous to kind of hear about that. But it's something that you need to understand because it's about setting yourself up for expectations. So my last step for you, more spiritually, really, is because in order for you to succeed at dropshipping, really it just comes down to, being strong emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So even though it's not as practical, and the practicals are great, but if you're not able to control yourself as an individual, the practicals are completely worthless. I mean, the methods, the strategies, they all don't work without someone willing to put in the hard work for it. So, like, if you were given the blueprint today, listening, right? And you were to execute the blueprint, but because it doesn't go smooth and nothing ever goes smooth, right? It's just like baking a cake. Sometimes you will, throw in too much flour. You might throw in too much butter. You might, mix the egg too much. You might overmix the eggs. Nothing ever goes smooth, especially because it's your first time. So even if we gave you the blueprint to kind of get into dropshipping, our goal with the Launchers Academy podcast experience is to kind of set you straight. And all of it really has to do, I would say about 90% is really all about like just your emotional grit. So step 5 is really knowing yourself as an individual is like, are you able, A, to dedicate enough time? B, is when the tough gets going, are you going to keep getting back up and, working harder? And also C, more importantly, is like, how are you going to be able to stay motivated and committed to this? Are you doing this just for the money? If you're doing this just for the money, that's where most people give up because you will not see results right away. And more importantly, if you do decide to do this yourself, you're probably not going to see the results anytime soon. Why? It's because you're not working with anyone that's going to guide you all the time, every single day, every single hour with proven strategies. Now, things will be a lot faster if you did work with someone, invest into a mentor, but if most of you, and I know most of you are probably going to decide to do this yourself, and that's completely okay. We're all a victim of it. I started out myself, Melissa and Christy all started ourselves, and everyone else as well, right? Until we realize how important mentors, which is another topic for another day. But you need to be able to really, understand, what is important to you. So if it is about the money, obviously we want to make money. That's how we pay the bills, put food on the table, right? But if you're getting into this just because of the money, it's going to be tough for you because you're not going to see results in a month or two. 3 months or 4 months. If you get lucky, sure. Most people don't get lucky. But if you don't see results in 2 to 3 months and you're putting all this effort in, you're probably going to be demotivated. It's like going to the gym and then you're lifting weights and you're eating right. And for some reason, you just can't seem to get those pecs. You can't seem to get those, the really nice legs after doing squats forever. You can't seem to get that, six-pack abs because you've been, doing your abs for so long or doing so much cardio. You'll get demotivated. But really, the big difference is whether or not you're able to keep going to see the results because sometimes the results are not instant. It requires a little bit more work. So really, at the end of the day is what's more important to you other than just the money? Are you doing it because you want to prove yourself? Are you doing it because you got to take care of your family? Are you doing it because you want to, pay off your mom or your parents' mortgage? Are you doing it because you have a, son and kid that you want them to look up to you, or because you don't want to kind of live the same lifestyle and pretty much be in the rat race anymore? So identify exactly what that motivator is for yourself. So that would be like our step, our 5 steps. First step is stay away from the YouTube and Google. Step 2 is to really understand the risk and identify, how far you want to go with dropshipping, because you got to be clear with your goals. If you're not clear with your goals, it's like going to a jungle and basically not having a map. And then maybe one day you'll finally, if you take north, south, east, west, that you'll finally be able to exit the jungle. No, it's not like that. You need to be able to have a map and then guide yourself out of the way. So if you're able to identify whether you're going to pretty much turn this into a full-time gig where you make hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s, or whether it's just a complete side hustle for $2,000 to $3,000 because you really love your job but you want an extra revenue stream. So identify that. What was step 3 and 4 there, Christy, Melissa?
Step 3 was making sure you're validating the product before you spend a single dollar on ads.
Step 4 is making sure that you look at some of the big brands out there and get inspiration and put together a store that's ready to convert.
Yeah, and step 5, like going back to it, is really just understanding your goals, understanding who you are, and also more importantly, please don't do it for the money. All of us want to make more money, but if it's all the thing that we're chasing, then you will fail in job shipping and almost everything in life. One of the quotes I love to live by is that money will never lead, money will always follow. So those are really our 5 steps here. But I want to kind of quickly go popcorn around and kind of come to an end here with why you should get into drop shipping, right? To give you a little bit more positive. So if someone's able to become successful at drop shipping, what is one big highlight for someone to look forward to, Melissa?
Having a passive income stream where you're literally waking up in the morning and you see that you got 10 or 20 sales the night before as you were sleeping. So money is coming around as you are sleeping and doing nothing. And, it's great to wake up to some numbers and seeing some sales in your Shopify store.
And Christy?
Definitely having a brand that you can call your very own and growing such a big community around your winning products and, hearing all the positive feedback from your customers. It's always such an amazing experience having your own brand.
Awesome. I love that. And my take on that is like, imagine yourself right now, right? Wherever you are right now, imagine for a second. You are in your most favorite place in the world, whether it's Tokyo, whether it's Dubai, whether it's Switzerland. Just imagine that for a second. You're there. You're having fun. But your phone, your laptop is ringing off the chain because you're making money over and over. And the beauty of drop shipping is you can be anywhere in the world. You don't have to be in an office. You don't have to be in a specific, country. You can be wherever because everything is done digitally. So imagine that for a second. You're in Dubai, for example. You're in Tokyo. You're sitting there in a restaurant. You're eating sushi. Right? You're having fun with your friends or family or your significant other. And you're making money. You don't have to worry about money because it pretty much just runs on its own. You have a team and you're hearing the cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. That's a huge benefit of drop shipping if that's where you want to go, allowing you the freedom to be wherever you want in the world and pretty much make money from your phone. So you don't have to be in a specific location because our goal in life is not to just constantly work all the time. It's do the things we love and more importantly, be wherever we want. So that's the biggest benefit. Once you get to the point where drop shipping is, making you lots of money and you're able to automate it, is you don't have to put as much time. Initially, yeah. But once you start making a lot of money, you don't have to put a lot of time because you're going to start hiring people to replace the things you don't want to do anymore and pretty much take off all the extra hats. So that would be my take on it. So here's the thing. Dropshipping is fun. We all love to do it. But I kind of want to share also our personal experiences. What has been the biggest highlight for ourselves doing dropshipping? 1 or 2 things there, Melissa.
Biggest highlight? I mean, this was the first time, I guess this was my first experience diving into e-commerce, and we started with dropshipping. So one of the biggest highlights for me, honestly, is just understanding how e-commerce works in general. So my background comes from corporate, and I'm an accountant. So completely different side of the world and completely different expertise, but really understanding how digital marketing works, because you have to understand this, start selling products, start thinking like a digital marketer, as well as learning about Facebook ads and how to create a store that actually converts was something that I had a lot of of fun along the way. So another thing that I would say is you have to make sure you're actually enjoying the journey and not just thinking about the destination, because if you only think about the destination, that's one surefire way to get burnt out as well. So like for me, the journey was extremely fun, just learning about e-commerce, picking up new knowledge, and learning how to make things work. If something doesn't work, why, and then how to make it better. So that part for me was extremely fun.
And for you there, Christy?
Yeah, I loved, the journey that we had in drop shipping and putting together our own brand and store. As a brand enthusiast, I always go back to the branding side of things. And I was mostly managing the store, and I got to really have a lot of fun creating our logo, creating the colors and putting that throughout the store, working on the product pages, making sure that they were converting well, and writing the product descriptions, and just really highlighting the product that we had and making sure that it really appealed to our target audience. Had a lot of fun with that, and just overall seeing the sales come into our store, that's been amazing. And listening to the cha-chings from Shopify, love that. Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't, right? Ching all day long. I love it. The biggest highlight for me, and kind of in line with Melissa and Chrissy as well, is like branding is fun and being able to do product research and all that. It's fun, right? And more importantly, as you grow as a business, you get to meet more people and all that fun stuff. I think the biggest highlight for me is because we started branching out and teaching students how to do it. And all our students that we're working with, it gives us a lot more perspective of where people's journey are and how they've been doing drop shipping the wrong way, and when they start working with us, it's completely different, right? So the biggest highlight for me is being able to make an impact on people's lives, whether it's our students or the people we hire, because we have grown, a lot. And then pretty much every time we've grown, we always add a new person. So for the biggest highlight for me while doing drop shipping is not so much a drop shipping aspect of it, it's selling products, but it's about helping customers and really just giving people an opportunity to work with us and provide a job. And also, more importantly, touching our students' lives. So at the end of the day, for me, it's about being able to kind of give the same opportunity to people that, want to pay the bills, they want financial freedom, but also more importantly, to make sure and know that the people who do want to do drop shipping, who are surrounded by us, we're able to touch them in a positive way and give them something they can take away that can help them further along their own personal journey or goals. So that's the biggest highlight for me. The money's great, but it's just being able to kind of, touch other people's lives. But that's so it's, with that being said, we're going to come to a wrap here of why you should get into drop shipping. So I want to kind of have the three of us impart, one piece of nugget that we haven't touched on so far to kind of leave with you why you should get into drop shipping. So one piece of wisdom or nugget that based on your experiences, since we've been doing it for a little while there, Melissa, what is one thing that you can throw to the person listening here today?
Yeah, I love that. So one piece of nugget that I haven't touched upon, I would say, is just making sure you understand how this entire process is going to work, and making sure that you keep in mind it's not something that is going to happen right the next day, but understand the steps that you need to do in order to actually start up a successful dropshipping store. So for that, in a very summarized way, it's going to be finding a winning product, which is going to be from you testing the product, setting up a store on Shopify, WooCommerce, or whatever platform you decide to use, and making sure you're putting in the time to actually make it a converting store. A lot of people, they, slap together some logos, slap together their product onto a website, but you can no longer do that in 2021. Customers are a lot smarter now as well, and they do not tolerate any website that is just slapped together or put together in like 2 hours type of thing. So making sure that you're actually putting in that effort, and then knowing and understanding different strategies of how you're going to direct traffic into your website so that you can start getting sales. Whether that be Facebook ads, which is what we mainly focus on, or if you decide to use any other models like TikTok or Google and anything else, which we'll probably talk about in a later episode, why Facebook ads is the better way to go. But just making sure you understand the ways that you can generate traffic to your store. And then last but not least, making sure that you are fulfilling customers' orders, as well as answering any customer questions in a timely manner so that you are able to give customers a very solid experience working with your brand.
Awesome. I love that. I mean, that's more than one piece of wisdom there, Nuggets. So always giving more than expected. I love it. What is one piece of nugget that you can impart to someone listening today there, Christy?
Yeah, so one of the reasons why I mentioned I got into dropshipping was because of the low upfront costs. And there's a lot of different methods of strategies behind all that. For example, using Shopify, they have a monthly plan, which is it's very affordable. And then also using some of their free apps that they have. There's a lot of apps that can really help you in terms of automating your processes, increasing conversions. And you really want to keep your app numbers small because you don't want to slow down your loading speed too much, because you definitely want your store speed to be really fast, so loading within 3 seconds. So really getting started and getting your store set up is really low cost to do that. So definitely recommend setting up your store in Shopify and making sure that you are installing the best apps possible that are very cost effective.
Awesome. I love that. And Christy got a little technical there. And we're going to dive more into that in the later episodes of like how to build a good store, how to keep it under 3 seconds, why you should keep it in, under 3 seconds, why that's super important. So just kind of give you a little bit of foreshadowing of the things to come. But yeah, certain these technical things do matter. And really at the end of the day, it's about the little things that add up to really build your business, right? So if you don't look at the little things, it's going to harm you because eventually it's going to add up to the bigger things. So Christy just brought up a great point. Hope you took notes on that. But yeah, so we're going to kind of dive more into the later episodes about exactly how you should run your store, apps, which app you should consider, and all that little technical fun stuff. So my little tidbit for you there to impart onto you, for you to take away today, is really setting a proper schedule for yourself. Because here's the thing, right? Most of you guys that are getting into drop shipping will either A, have a full-time job, or B, is you have other businesses already and you want to add another revenue stream, or 3 is you really unfortunately you've been laid off or something, you want to get into something that's completely online. Whatever journey you are, whatever occupation or career you're at currently. So what's super important for you to understand, and a lot of people who get into drop shipping, especially the ones that quit, is because of this reason alone, is they're not able to really keep themselves accountable and dedicate enough time set aside to properly do this. So a lot of people who do give up on drop shipping or get super overwhelmed is because they feel like they got to spend 8 hours a day doing this, or they got to spend hours and hours on doing this, or they feel like they're always behind because they're not putting enough work. And that's normal to, feel, but that's also not, smart to go about your day or to put in the time. So my little tidbit here and what I recommend is really setting up a proper schedule and understanding exactly, how much time you can dedicate. I would personally recommend you to dedicate at least 2 hours a day. I would personally recommend you dedicate at least 2 hours a day and pretty much be accountable towards that. That means not be doing it 1 hour one day because you got so tired, not one day because you're doing it 4 hours because you want to catch up from the day before. But as long as you're able to just basically set aside 2 hours a day, and here's the thing, I know for a fact that all of you guys can set aside 2 hours a day. Let's do the math here. You sleep for 8 hours, there's 24 hours in a day. Right, so that leaves you at about 16 hours. So let's just say you work an 8-hour shift for a job. So what's 8 minus 16? So that's another 8 hours. So 8 hours, you pretty much are left to your own device. Let's just say you go to the gym, you play with your kids, or you go play with your dog, or you go eat. That's probably like 4 hours at max. You're not going to binge a Netflix show for 8 hours, right? So you're able to set aside at least 2 hours a day. And that's all you really need to get starting with dropshipping, because there's no point for you to spend so much time right off the bat because you're still learning, you're still testing, and really where you want to ramp up the hours is when it requires you to do so. But when you're first starting out to find these products, build a website, learn how to market, and how to put together marketing materials and how to put all the missing pieces together, that is the long burning process, and that doesn't require you to spend 8 hours a day where you burn yourself out. So just really understanding who you are, what your schedule is like, and setting aside the proper time, but not so much important about setting aside a time, but being accountable to it. So if you're going to tell yourself you're setting aside 3 hours, be accountable to it, be consistent, and execute on it. Because the biggest difference between a dropshipper who does well And a dropshipper who does poorly is the one that is not able to set aside proper time, B is be accountable to it, and 3 is execute on it. Because there are a lot of dropshippers like, I know I have 3 hours, but they do 3 hours for like few days, then it goes down to 2 hours, then it goes down to 1 hour, and then they lose motivation. And more importantly, they don't even execute. Sometimes that hour or two that they invest into, they don't even do jack all. They just sit there and they think they're doing something. So just know who you are, set aside the proper time, whether it's 2 to 3 hours. I'd recommend at least 2 hours a day and execute on it. So that's my little tidbit there, guys. So with that being said, I'm just going to wrap it up. But yeah, this was our first episode here at the Launchers Academy podcast experience. It's been really fun, but more importantly, we're looking forward to kind of sharing more with you. But I'm just going to go popcorn around again. It's like, what are you looking for most about this journey that we're sharing with everyone with our podcast here there, Melissa?
What I'm looking forward to most is just being able to share with you our experiences and what we had to go through as our mistakes, so that you don't have to make the same mistakes that we did. So we're here we don't really have any, filters, I would say. We're just going to share it as it is and hope that you as a viewer is also able to take away a lot of the nuggets and wisdom that we are able to provide to you because of the mistakes and the learnings that we've had in our past.
And for you there, Christy?
Yeah, definitely sharing, our passion about e-commerce with you and our story so that we can really inspire you to take action, because e-commerce is here to stay and dropshipping as well. So definitely we want you to get started now. So be sure to tune in more often and hear our story as we talk about dropshipping further in detail.
Love it. And exactly what Christy said, make sure to tune in, because we're going to teach you how to find your next winning product. We're going to teach you how to build a proper store that converts. We're also going to teach you how to use a specific advertising platform that we prefer, like Melissa brought up earlier, Facebook, and why. And more importantly, we're also going to give you quick, hacks and tips and strategies that no one's probably ever going to tell you. Either A, because they want to keep it to themselves and charge you, a ridiculous amount for, or B, is that they really don't care about your success. And the more you get to know us, and if this is the first time you're listening to us, keep tuning back in. But if you've already ran across any of our previous content before listening to our podcast, you're going to start, hearing from us and getting that feeling from us that we actually care about your success. We want to make sure you're doing dropshipping the right way and not the wrong way. So if this is something that you really want to get into, just keep tuning back in. We are going to drop you some bomb of value and tidbits here that you probably never heard on the YouTube and the Google. So with that being said there, guys, go out there, crush it. And, we appreciate you listening to the Launchers Academy podcast experience. Did you enjoy this episode?
If you did, which we believe you did, as we dropped a ton of value,
support us by giving us a 5-star rating.
That's 5 stars, not 3, not 4, but 5 stars.
Also, we'd love to hear from you, so please leave your comment below.
And we'll be sure to get back to you. Take care, and until next time.